But yes, YouTube's apparently still waiting for us. Although Restream is connected. Oh, stream is starting on YouTube's apparently.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, oh.
Oh.
Yes.
I haven't got anything, but...
We are now, as of that. Yeah, we're live as of right now.
Sweet.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome.
Oh, yeah, there we go. I see us now.
Hi. Yes, I'm Adam Steele and this is Liam Wright, and we are your hosts on the Hot Pole Position, coming to you live from Studio A for a nice change. Yes.
Where's Studio B? Is that Studio B?
My house is Studio B.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
Yes. So yeah, I'm usually from Studio B and you're from Studio C. Which makes it studios plural.
AB Studios, yes. Ah, okay. I like it.
Yeah. Well, this being the control room of our main thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what a day. So, as you can see, the camera looks quite different to normal. I'm not sure if I'm convinced by the particular way the camera looks. It doesn't look too shabby. It's quite stylized because...
What about yellow?
Yeah. I'll probably make my own custom LUT now because we're using a Blackmagic Pocket cinema camera live captured through the computer behind me.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first time we've actually done it live.
Mm-hmm.
But the image coming off the camera, it'll be because it's in video mode rather than film mode. So it's kind of double saturating the colours.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the outputs on the video, you mean?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because there's different amounts of saturation and stuff. But if I video capture device, I can change the filters on it. So let's just take that saturation back down a little. There we go. And there we go. That looks a little more natural.
Cool.
Hey. So yeah, between doing that, I've been to see a friend of mine who deals in second-hand drums today. So I'm going to be making a drum video very soon about how to rescue cheap old drums and save yourself a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
I've now got a load of cymbals with cracks in, which I can send off to Cymbal Magic. Because yeah, there's a guy in the UK. His company's called Cymbal Magic, and if you've got cymbals that have got cracks and things in them, if you keep hitting them, they'll just crack and crack and crack, and then they die.
Mm-hmm.
But you can fix them, and this guy's an expert at taking away the bad bits, so you can keep on smashing them for years to come.
Pritt stick.
Essentially, kind of like magical metal Pritt stick. Or I don't know.
Pritt stick. I like it.
Yeah, but yeah, if a cymbal's cracked, you hit it for another show or two, and that's it. It's done. But if you get them fixed, you can get months or years out of them.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And you kind of get a slightly new funky sound out of them because he cuts bits of metal out where it's cracking.
All right.
So yeah, if
So
let's say
you have like holy symbols.
yeah, either holy cymbals or if it's on the edge, you get a little bit of a wave.
Right. So what's that type? There is this type of symbol that has holes in it, isn't it? One of the
Yeah, Sabian call them the ozone.
yeah, with loads of little holes and they make it a different. Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a load of weight out the cymbal, which means that instead of it crashing for ages, it's more of a sharp kind of psh type thing.
Yeah, I'm sure Seb or someone had them and they were using them for just easier to take around on tour and stuff.
Yeah,
Or if you're doing shows, it just lightens your load.
yeah, it's a sonic thing as well. A lot of bands, like I saw the drummer from Mary J. Blige's band using them because not being a proper rock setup, you probably want your crashes to get out the way pretty quick. So yeah, that's why. Skin tones look very soft. Yeah, that's probably because we're being flooded by lots and lots of light.
Oh, we did have our makeup done though as well.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you just put the sexy filter on, haven't you? That's what it is.
Yeah, that's
Turn on
exactly it.
sexy mode.
If I turn off sexy mode, it'll be grey and boring. Yeah, so there's been some stuff happen this week. It's been a relatively quiet week in the news. But yeah, studio news. I'm going to be doing a collaboration with Donkeys and Demos, a guy called Jeremy Vareo, who's in California. We're doing a cover of a Megadeth song.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm not the best guitarist in the world, I'm happy to admit. But I play bass, that's my thing. I do play some drums. And I sing. And so what we figured is it's going to go on his channel and my channel, and he's going to play the guitars. I'm going to send him the rest of the stuff. We're going to work together, and it's the start of collaborations worldwide.
Nice. Sounds good.
Yeah. So that's part of the reason why I'm fixing up the drum kit, because it gives me a reason to do stuff. if I've got a reason to do stuff gets done faster.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's going to be interesting trying to play, because it's thrash metal, and playing thrash metal drums is not necessarily the most difficult drum stuff in the world. Some of it is, but it's tiring. Like 6 minutes of dig 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 dig, that kind of thing.
When we first got the studio and we got the Joe Becky, he used to spend at least 2 hours a night drumming.
Yes. Yeah.
Just come out, when we finished work, and he'd just go into the studio and just drum, and come out just like dripping with sweat. And I was like, that was fun. I just drummed the whole Foo Fighters album or something like that.
Even if I was kind of not the best at it, it definitely kept me in shape at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, now, especially having a child and everything, I don't really need the extra exercise because I'm being worn to the ground as it is. But yeah, it would be nice to do more of that. Yes.
Vaseline filter.
Yeah. I think it'll be because the lens is completely wide open. But that camera, if I then stop it down a little bit... In fact, you know what? I'm going to just do that now. I'm going to stop the camera down a little bit. Because it's all the way open. We'll get darker, but also sharper. Hopefully that's not too dark on screen now. Well, that should also
Where have we gone?
That should also be nice and sharp, because that's around f5-ish on an f3 lens. Nerd talk! Yeah, and also channel news, we're right in the middle of about 5 different things, so I've now uploaded the final versions of my bass board and the Hipshot drop tuner video. I've just released Reaper Part 5. Part 6 is in the middle of editing. If I get round to it tonight, I'm going to do Part 7 and 8 filming-wise. Because one of them is all about drum routing, of how to get virtual drums and get all the separate...
Oh yeah, that's something you do really well.
But even getting to that point of actually having, this is your kick, this is your snare, these are your toms, it can be quite a lot of messing about just to get to that point. So that's what...
Yeah, I remember doing that for the first time.
Yeah.
You can lose a whole evening, can't you?
Yeah, so that's one of the videos is going to be literally, this is how you do this without spending all night doing it. Because now I know the quick ways. But I'm going to go through it the kind of slow way and explain how.
Yeah, no, definitely, because I was going to say that's kind of how you learn, though. Well, it depends. People learn in different ways. It's the way me and you learn. Yeah. It's by just wasting our time figuring stuff out and then being like, oh, okay.
Yeah, but rather than spend the whole evening literally trying to find the buttons.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's definitely worth having someone show you, this is how you do it the long way, and here's the short way.
Yeah, but definitely. Here are the buttons.
As I've got older, I've definitely accepted that there are 12-year-old kids that know more than me, and it's just better to YouTube it and get told off a 12-year-old how to do stuff.
Interruption screen is frozen. Apparently, one of the viewers' screen is frozen, but everything seems right on our side. Restream and everything.
That's gonna mess him up now. Like, can't fix it.
Yeah. So yeah, now that I've stopped the camera down and everything, I'm really happy with this setup. Whenever possible, I'm probably going to do this now for live stuff in here because we've got the kit for it, and I got a new micro HDMI to HDMI normal adapter that had a bit of a length on it because we did have a micro HDMI adapter before, but it was one of those little all-in-one adapters. And that meant the weight of the cable was really kind of tugging on the connector, which isn't ideal. So I got one of them that then takes the strain away because I didn't want to rip the connector out of the camera. I nearly went to Scan earlier today and got an adapter for the cinema camera SDI to HDMI because they're 40 quid now and they're USB powered. But then I thought, you know what? It's 40 quid. Don't need to spend it. This one will do absolutely fine.
Yeah. It'd be good to be able to use it, like if we need to, though. Good to know that it's not too expensive to get it sorted.
Yeah, absolutely. And in future, if we do more live stuff and do a dual camera setup, then between that and a second capture card, which wouldn't be that much money, depending on what videos we're doing, that could save us a lot of time. I've noticed that Henning Pauli, who's from 42 Studios in Germany, they're a big YouTube studio. He's now got like an A10 and 16 cameras and stuff. Which obviously that's a lot of outlay, and we can't really justify that much outlay at the moment. But for him, because he's doing a lot of videos with a lot of other YouTubers, the production editing time is gone.
Mm-hmm.
If he's got someone behind a live desk flicking cameras and everything in real time and at the end.
We have 4 decent cameras.
Yes.
So, but I can't anticipate how we could even need 4 cameras up. So,
but even then, 2 of the cameras we have aren't ideal for live stuff.
we put it on the not Blackmagic. What's the other thing? Magic Lantern.
The hardware's just not capable of clean 1080 out. I've tried it a lot. Even with the Magic Lantern, you can.
I thought you could out of the 5D. I'm sure you could get 1080 out of the 5D.
No, you can get RAW onto a card. You can do all sorts of stuff in camera. It's the output that it physically can't do.
Right, what does it output then?
It's like 480p, something like that. It's kind of the generation previous, the 5D Mark II, to everybody wanting clean HDMI. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It kind of sucks, but when you're actually filming with them, they are decent cameras. Yeah. And now that we know how to hack them to get raw video or rough equivalent out of them.
Yeah, otherwise we would have just got was it Atos? No, what's the Atom?
Oh yeah, the Atomos, yeah.
Atomos, that's it.
That was the original plan, but yeah
they don't do the output,
Yeah.
Had some really annoying, talking about like tech stuff, really annoying tech issue in the studio this week. So, you know how we're giving back that old Cisco router? The lease is up on it. Well, we put the switch in. So I put the switch in and didn't think anything of it. And then upstairs I changed the Wi-Fi routing so that I had a Wi-Fi repeater with an old BT Home Hub. So I turned it into an access point and it was working fine. But then after 5 minutes, my phone wasn't loading, even though it had an IP address and everything. And then the Xbox was doing the same, and the Xbox was saying it didn't have the internet, but then it was accessing the internet. It's all just really weird, and every time you try and fix it, it took about 10 minutes for it to stop working. I was like, what on earth is the issue? And I went through everything, resetted the router, checked the IP address on the router upstairs, because I actually had set that to 192.168.1.1, and the downstairs is 0.0.1. And I thought maybe that was the issue, so I'll put that onto the other subnet, so they're all the same. And then I'm just going through stuff, and then I randomly I can't get access to the Virgin router unless I'm downstairs. It's really weird. That turned out to be because I was on the 1 point something network,
because you configured it to
When I was on that, after changing a few things, I typed in 192.168.0.1 on my phone, and it popped up with a TP-Link login page. It's like, what the hell? That switch had set itself to 192.168.0.1 as its default IP address.
Switches aren't even supposed to have logins for unmanaged switches.
So I managed to get into it and just put it onto like 0.10 or something. Everything's now fine. But for some reason, that's why it was getting confused. It was getting through, but it was blocking some of it because it had 2 things on the same IP.
Yeah.
But it was still working. Like, I'd be fine if it just didn't work. I'd have really figured it out.
Yeah.
The fact it worked at all. Networking, man.
Right, everybody in the chat is mentioning that the audio's a little bit low. So what I'm going to do, everybody, headphone warning. I'm going to run the intro video, because someone said that.
Okay.
That's fine where it is. It's the actual output level. So I'm going to do that. And while that's running, it's going to be quite loud. So headphone warning. Then I'm going to add some gain to our output, if I can. Right, so here we go.
Loud noises.
On a couple of dB of limiting just in case we get loud, it won't clip. There we go. So we now have lots of extra gain on the output and a limiter. OBS is so much better than XSplit for that kind of stuff. We've moved away from XSplit now. It's something that recently, especially on the usual setup in Studio B, I've now got all that set up as of the last couple of weeks. So it's significantly louder than it used to be. But this, because OBS is something new in here, I had forgotten to update that. So that's now been updated, so I can now see that's quite happily hitting minus 10 dB. If I go much louder than that, I'll be blowing people's ears out.
Well, that's much better. Cool.
Lovely. all you need is more gain. I mean, I could have more gain on the preamp that's behind us, but then we've run the risk of just clipping everything if we get loud, and I'd rather have an inbuilt limiter than clip everything. So, news this week.
The news.
Let's move on to the news. So, first piece of news this week is there's a tech startup called Odoo.
Odoo?
Odoo?
Oh, don't.
Oh dear. And yes, apparently the idea is that
Spice Girls creator.
Yeah,
He made them.
out of clay.
Yeah. Wow. I thought they were real human beings. Apparently not.
Yeah, don't tell them, they'll have an existential breakdown. But
Am
yeah,
I the clone or is she the clone?
apparently they made 5 Hearsay and Bewitched as well. And
Bewitched were amazing. I'm not going to lie. I even have the second album.
nobody talks about the second album.
I didn't listen to it. I bought it and then realised I was over Bewitched. But the first album. Quality
Yeah.
pop music. Quality pop music.
So the reason this is news is that apparently this is a new startup, and their idea is to try and consolidate music royalty collection
Okay.
and find ways, because there's loads of places that apparently audio gets played in places and gets missed through because it's an absolute rat's nest of legal mumbo jumbo that's been piled on for 100 years or more. They're trying to cut through a lot of it. And they've got the chairman of the Performing Rights Society, the PRS, on board. And apparently there are Fortune 500 companies involved. Universal Records, Philips, Sony, Sun Computers. They're pretty big.
Cool.
Yeah, as well as advising. Oh, that's what this person's done. Yeah. He has consulted. Whatever consulting means. You sit in a room and you go, yeah, this, that, you should do this, you should do that. Money, please.
Yep.
Yes. We should do more consulting. Consulting's good.
This is what I do. That's pretty much mostly all I do.
You're a consultationist.
Indeed.
But yeah, I just thought this was worth mentioning because music, PRS, performing rights, and all the collection of royalties is absolutely terrible. And even if this is only UK based, if it's really successful, either they'll be able to branch out worldwide or the companies will follow the same business model.
Yeah.
Which can only be a good thing, especially with the hoo-ha of streaming services not giving people enough in terms of royalty return.
Yeah.
If the companies themselves can be afforded more royalty return, they'll have more to redistribute.
Yeah, it's got to be done right, especially when everything's moving to cloud-based payment systems and aggregated content. Like, you need to make sure that you're getting everything out of your music so it's worthwhile doing it. Otherwise, people will stop making music.
Yes. Yeah, there's only so far you can go without getting paid.
Yeah.
Which, people say, oh, you should do it for the love of it. Yeah, but, you've got to pay rent and things.
Yeah, and it also means you cut out a lot of people then. So people that... means that basically rich people are able to make music because they don't really need to, and then lower income people will struggle if you can't make any money off it. It's not going to be a career. You'll turn something that you can support yourself off. You miss out on some amazing music that way.
And the alarm bells here, even if the major record labels are getting involved because they're not seeing the money that they should, if they're not seeing it, if you're independent, you've not got a chance in hell.
No.
So yeah, I'm all for things like this of companies coming together to try and consolidate. Yeah, where was the description of it? Yeah, to update the distribution model of music royalties through technology, using an IoT device to music played in commercial spaces. So yeah, literally, if your fridge plays the Spice Girls, then some royalties will go somewhere. Yeah, thought that was an interesting one. The Prodigy. So they're back in the studio.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so they've decided to press on. Which, yeah. Do it for the exposure. Depression has entered the chat. Yes, quite. Yeah, Keith Flint from The Prodigy, unfortunately, is no longer with us. But his mantra was always go ahead and do things rather than not do things. So I think the other lads in The Prodigy, especially Liam Howlett,
Oh yeah, definitely. He would definitely want them to carry on, 100%.
Yeah.
I'd have thought.
Well, the only question for me would have been whether he carried on as another entity. But no, they've decided to carry on. And yeah, so there's... Yeah, the Prodigy cancelled their shows after he died, which made sense because in the immediate aftermath, the entire plan just gets derailed. So they'll be taking this time to regroup, start again, be a different band in a way.
Yeah, who they said who's replacing him?
Oh, I don't think anyone will. They may well have other people on stage at some point, but I don't think they would ever consider anyone to be a like-for-like replacement with Keith Flint. I mean, a lot of the Prodigy's music didn't really include many vocal samples from not just him, but the other guys either. It was mostly just instrumental, and then live they were the face. So in the studio, I suppose in some ways it doesn't affect it very much. Of course, there were tracks like Firestarter where Keith was the focus, but there were a lot as well where not so much. Stuff like Omen and even the newer stuff where it was heavily sample based. So that, yeah. The Prodigy has always been an interesting one because to me it was always Liam Howlett plus other people. And it's interesting how iconic Keith Flint became in terms of being that focus. Because he wasn't the guy that did most of the stuff.
Yeah.
But then I suppose you could say that about a lot of bands and frontmen who just kind of turn up, do some singing and go again, and there's a guy at the back who does all the things.
Noel Gallagher at one point.
Yeah.
Until they realised, yeah.
Very good example, yeah. There's a lot of bands where the guitarist or the drummer or whoever quietly at the back is also the main songwriter. Yeah.
Yeah, it was Noel wasn't even in the band to begin with. He joined later. After they played a couple of gigs, like early on when they still played in pubs. And then all of a sudden he started writing some songs for them. And lo and behold, they were good. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see Prodigy's back end of how they work. I find it fascinating. He's come off now because he had that big controversy, but when Deadmau5 was on Twitch streaming,
oh yeah,
and you could go and see his studio, and he'd actually be mixing live, and like some of the gear, and like you'd think in a digital age, a lot of people just use a laptop, and he had a room full of hardware still, like hooked up to his iMac, and it was incredible some of the stuff he had in there.
The guys who press enter are not the presenter. Interesting. I like that one. This is one that I thought would be interesting. This is one of Chris's favourite things, the ISO Vox. I don't know if you heard about these.
Nope.
It's kind of like a vocal booth for your head. And I think they're really,
so please tell me you sit down, put this on your head and sing.
Essentially.
Sweet.
It's on a stick and you stick your head into it. It's got a flap at the back so you can kind of walk in. But I think they're really, really strange. I think they look really stupid. I mean, they've got some practical benefit, I guess.
Can we see a photo of someone using one?
Let's just mute this and... So, what is... Oh, that's just kind of what people used to do, and then... Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, so they don't tend to like putting too many shots on, I've noticed, of people getting into it. But it's this thing where, yeah, you stick your head in a box. And of course they'll show you a shot with the side.
It's bigger than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and it goes on like a speaker stand so that it's not going to just fall over.
It's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah.
It's actually pretty cool.
Apparently Seal recorded his last album with one of these.
Okay.
Because he was on tour all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But he took one of them with him on tour, and in the hotel they'd put it up, stick his head in.
Laptop, decent preamp, and you mic, and you're good.
Exactly, yeah.
You can fit up a laptop, a preamp, and a mic in a bag, can't you?
Yeah.
No problem.
And the thing that really interested me is that Seal was using the same microphone that I used, the Slate ML1.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very modern setup. Mobile recording booth with a mic that can sound like anything.
Yeah.
So what preamp would you take with you to do the same job then?
The one behind you, the VMS1. It's the ultra clean preamp that doesn't.
That one.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like anything. It's just
Another
crystal
Slate.
clear.
Yeah.
They were originally designed to go hand in hand.
So that you get nothing out of it, so you can then model what you want. Or...
Yeah, and the Slate mix rack, you choose then what microphone and what preamp sound.
Probably going to sound like quite a new question, but can you reamp a mic, like for the preamp?
Yes, you
like
can.
if you recorded it clean like that,
Yeah.
and then you said no, you wanted to get the sound of it going, say, one of the BBCs, could you run that back through somehow?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can do that. It's not done very often, but you can.
And you just patch bay it, just play it through the computer,
just run it
and
back
record
through
it back through
the preamp. Yeah,
but that's line level, isn't it?
It depends. If you've got a reamp box like I've got, that'll drop the level down roughly to mic level, and then you can drive it that way.
Okay. So I thought, right, okay, yeah, cool.
But yeah,
TIL.
Absolutely. It's like I say, it's rare. Quite often you'll do that for like drive or distortion or whatever, because preamps tend to add a little bit of character. So quite often you add more noise than you gain from character when you're doing stuff like reamping. But if you really go in for it, why not? Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, David.
Hello, everybody. I've been watching David's videos recently. He's building a guitar from scratch, and he's doing things like he's got a semi-hollow top where he got the traditional way in some ways. It was like 2 inches thick, and he got an angle grinder and just ground a load off it, turned it upside down and ground a load out of it as well. I thought it was really cool.
Cool.
So yeah, good work, man, and keep that up, because I'm really excited to see how that comes together. Yeah.
It's a brave undertaking.
Absolutely. I think he's on part 30 of the video now or something like that. He's really going for it.
Cool.
But it's definitely...
I think I saw like one of the parts a while ago.
Yeah. Fame at last.
Fame at last.
It's definitely a passion project rather than like an industry. But I do know people who professionally make guitars for a living. Not just Stephen Hart, but I also know the guys I have from Brian Eastwood Guitars and his son Michael. And those guys, they work in a different way to David. They'll do things like they'll get a Stratocaster and they'll type thing and they'll just grind it out dead quick, file it down. Basically, time is money for them. Whereas doing it the way that David's doing it is definitely like, it'll be absolutely beautiful when it's done, but it will have taken so long that if you were to charge money for it, you'd be talking $5 or $6 grand probably. But why spend that money when you can do it yourself? Yeah. So yeah.
Anyway, if you do get an absolute love for it, as we saw at the Birmingham show, there's a lot of sort of artisan guitar makers now, and you can go to guitar shows and you can make something unique and make it well, and people would be interested in them.
Yeah.
But you say, I think it's one of those, something that Stephen always struggled with, isn't it? And time and actually making it into a business is difficult to do.
Yeah, that's it. A friend of mine, Adam Dolan, sells guitars and basses, as well as his day job of being a repair luthier. And he'll charge $3.5 grand for a bass or a guitar, and they sell. They all sell. But it's that kind of thing where he puts in that much time, but because of that, it's worthy of that price. And then the kind of people who are looking for something custom want to pay for something worthy of that price. It's an interesting conversation. Be beautiful and unplayable.
As long as it looks good on a guitar rack, it was fine.
Plus, I know some great people who can make any guitar playable once it's done. Jack's Instrument Services are my best example. The ones that I made a video for only a couple of months back. They can take any old... Not talking about David's guitar, but any old, like, I don't know, 60s pile of crap. They can take, you know, those catalogue guitars that your granddad would have got and make them playable. And it's jaw-dropping what they can do. Yeah. Like, there's a bass that I've got that it's a set neck, so there's no way of taking off the neck. And the truss rod inside had snapped. And somehow, at Jack's, they'd managed to take the entire fretboard off, take the thing out, put a whole new truss rod in, put the fretboard back on, no damage.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that's like, oh, wow.
Could they turn a 7-string into a 6-string?
Probably.
Because I've always wanted to... I should never have got that as a 7-string. I've always wanted... And I asked Stephen ages ago, and he was like, oh, probably the cost of doing it again. And I was like, oh, I won't bother then.
No, I reckon that 7-string over there, they could shave off quite a bit.
Well, next, if you're ever going down there anytime soon, if you ever fancy taking it with you and asking them how much,
Yeah.
I'd be interested.
It'd be weird, but it could be really interesting to completely just shave off that much fretboard and take off one of the tuning pegs. Oh, that'd be weird.
It's a weird looking guitar anyway. So.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. So, talking about guitars with too many strings, perfect segue to the Gent 2019 video.
Oh my lord.
Yeah, so last year, Jared Dines got an 18-string guitar just for the hell of it.
I was complaining about 7.
Yeah. And so now, Stevie T and Jared Dines, yeah, they
It's
basically
like a weapon out of Devil May Cry.
Yeah.
Giant
It's
sword.
absolutely ridiculous. So, I'm not going to play too much of it because that's one of the guitars.
That's not a guitar.
That's the other one. So that's the 2019 and the
But
other one's 2018.
how does he play the top strings though? He's not playing any of them.
Not at the moment. Don't know if he ever plays the strings. It's literally just an appendage measuring competition.
Yeah, but at least play the strings. Like those top ones, the low ones, he's not gone anywhere near them once.
Not yet. They probably will at some point in the video.
But how do you... I suppose maybe you reach across. He couldn't reach up there. Like, 18th fret on the top string, he can't reach that.
Well, that one's
top.
fretless at the top as well, so it's literally just whatever you want. But yeah, I have to watch this video properly. I've not seen the whole thing yet. But it's
a crab guitar, isn't it?
Crabcore is coming back. It's truly ridiculous. I just thought it was really, really, really funny.
Have you seen Adam Miller's new video?
Yeah, the new song.
Yeah, Make Way for Man, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Australian friend of ours from school.
Yeah,
Australian,
Make Way for Man, they're kind of a tech band, and they hadn't put anything out for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, their new video was absolutely ripping.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
They're loud.
And it was basically about coming back from the brink, which made sense, I guess. But yeah,
he's amazing because he's like a quantity surveyor or something, isn't he? As his day job.
Yeah.
And then during the evening, he's like full on crabcore.
Yeah. Muscles, 6-string bass, and
yeah, he's massive now. So is his brother.
But well, they work in oil, don't they? So they've got oil money. Yeah, he plays a Dingwall, but a custom Dingwall. Dingwall for most people who play bass are like up there, and the regular Dingwalls you're looking at $1.5 grand, $2 grand. The customs you're looking at $3.5, $4 grand or more.
Nice.
But yeah, wow.
I'd like to see him play one of these.
He probably could. Yeah. So, Stevie T's has got 20 strings on, so that next year it's still relevant because it's got 2020. So he's going to get a full year's gens out of it before it's out of date.
Oh dear.
So it's a proper gent battle. Oh, so 6 strings spaced out over a 7-string fretboard is what Intrep Gun would prefer. That's quite interesting. I like wide space. I like wide space strings. So things like Jackson's. I think your Charvel actually has got quite wide spacing on strings. It's quite a common super strat thing that they're not bunched together.
Go grab the 7 strings.
Yeah. We're talking about it so much, we may as well show it on camera.
This was one that I had designed. I designed it and had someone make.
Flick it back so you can go.
Kind of, it was about 5 or 6 years ago now. A custom olive wood and blood something wood. I can't remember what it was now. But I don't know. Down here though, I think you'd struggle to. I don't know how you would.
So what I'm thinking is he'd probably start a gouge there and just leave
have it. So it, yeah. So it was the.
Yeah, because you'd never actually bother playing up there, so I don't think that would make much difference.
I'm definitely not anyway.
But then, yeah, just taking that out and then taking one peg out and some off the nut would possibly, maybe?
Interesting. I'm also just thinking what you were saying about this, like spreading the strings out.
Yeah.
But then...
But it's funny,
Could.
even though I'm mostly a bass player, I much prefer putting it down that side. I kind of prefer the opposite. My favourite 6-string bass that I ever had was essentially a 5-string neck with all the strings crammed onto it, which meant that I wasn't trying to do this when I was playing. It was much more accessible. And it turns out, I have found, that being a big Dream Theater fan, I kind of follow them, and it turns out their bass player plays a 6-string Music Man bass, but the real ones, I've tried playing one, the neck's huge, and I found from some behind-the-scenes stuff that he asked him to custom make him a 5-string neck with the 6 strings crammed on it. And I'm like, I knew there was a reason why. Because when you're trying to do this across 6 strings and they've got that full bass spacing, it's just... I've got little sausage fingers, I can't do that. I'm not one of these people who's got like 79-inch long fingers who can just do that. No, it just doesn't physically can't do it.
Enhance it to a 6-string with the having two top E's.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Dean used to make guitars that did that, which were a 10-string guitar. Was it 10?
So
I think. So you'd have them double. So it wouldn't be wider; they'd just be bunched up together. It's a whole different sound.
Yeah, interesting. It's more just for me. Like, I'm not the best guitarist in the world. I'm definitely not as good as I even used to be. And just the 7 strings, my brain can't deal with it still. Like playing like open chords and stuff. That's the thing on it. Like, yeah, if you just metaling it, it's easy enough. But
I can do it a little bit, but after a while, even my head's like, no, this is no. Because you get so comfortable with a 6 that you start doing little tricks like putting your thumb over it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, next news article. IK Multimedia do Amplitude.
# Reaper Gang.
Yeah. Sure.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So, Amplitude are doing an Amplitude Brian May, which I'm going to guess is like, it's a Vox AC30. With all the controls just jammed to the top. You can't move them. And that's it. And they charge you lots of money for the privilege. Oh, and there's the 1x6 cab that they use sometimes in the studio, which helps things poke through. I thought that was really odd that it's Brian May edition of Amplitude, but he only uses 1 amp. I mean, if it sounds really, really good... fine, but like, why the 3 AC30s? That's just a bit... Yeah. And there's a gate to tame the hiss, because of course when you've got 3 AC30s at full volume, that's going to hiss like a bunch of angry cats.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw there was a behind the scenes, a rig rundown of his amps. And on stage, he's got 9 of these amps. 6 of them aren't on; they're literally spares. They're not even there to look good. They're there because the amps blow up so much.
You can plug another one in.
Yeah. So he's got. I think it was an amp in the middle is just the dry sound, and the ones with delay and stuff are the outside ones. And yeah, so if one decides to die, they literally just pull it out, pull one from the next row down, plug that in, turn it on, and go. But they've got them all on stage off at an angle, pointing off the stage, because they're that loud that apparently even from 20 feet away, they're so loud in the microphones you can't hear anything else. That's just insane.
In the back of the cab.
Yeah, so, I mean, good on him for Amplitude. $99? Or $19.99 on iPad. That's a whole different conversation for what people are prepared to pay on different platforms. I mean, if it's the same technology, why is it a fifth of the price on iPad?
Yeah, and could you not just plug your iPad into your PC?
Well, technically you can. I mean, it's more of a convoluted way of doing it, but you can.
I'm just thinking, if you wanted to use this collection and you've got it $20 or $100, is it not just a jack cable into your studio?
No, because to get... Well, you need an interface to get decent guitar level without adding extra crap background noise in on an iPad. And then you need to run the outputs for that into your other
That's
rigs.
what I mean. Like, if you've got a setup so you can record into an iPad anyway.
Yeah.
Then,
Then absolutely you could do that and use it like a pretending it's the amp, like it's
Yeah.
an XFX unit or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you can do that.
And for the I mean, how much is that sort of a setup to be able to plug your guitar into your laptop? I mean, into your iPad.
For a good one, probably about £100.
There you go. Save the money.
Yeah.
Get the kit to do it into your iPad and buy the iPad software if you really want it.
Yeah. And then when the next plugin comes out, you've already got the iPad set up.
Oh, if you just want to record into your iPad.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the lad that called up today was talking about wanting to use Cubasis on his iPad. Like, people are like more and more and kind of getting into recording. It's just useful, isn't it? Like the iPad Pros are so powerful, like amount of processing power that they have. Like, if you're recording into one of those boxes that you put your head in on your iPad.
Yeah. So, question. You have a looper for jamming, practicing. Feel like I'm outgrowing it. Any suggestions? I'm not really much of a looper kind of guy. Ableton, you would really have to spend some time setting up. I've seen people do it, but it's not a plug and play solution because Ableton is designed to do literally anything.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that it takes some time to make literally anything. The presets in there for like, here's a synth sound, here's a drum sound, here's some compressors, whatever. In terms of looping, yeah, Ableton is based around loops, but not in the way that a looper is based around loops.
So yes, about sort of Cubase and Reaper. With a MIDI controller, can you do it in Reaper? Could you not record and then use the MIDI foot pedal to move to the next track? And just have it set on loop.
That's something that I've wanted to look at for a while.
Because a MIDI controller, surely with a MIDI controller, you can make it so that you've got channel armed and also playing out of some speakers for playback, and then have your MIDI controller just switch to arm the next track and unarm the one before.
Yeah, there's certain hoops you'd have to jump through. With Cubase, I'm not sure exactly how that would work, but
I'm thinking Reaper.
Yeah, but Reaper you probably could. Generally, the way the default behaviour works in Reaper, if it goes on to recording another loop and it even starts by a split second, it won't play the previous one because that's your loop on that track now. But I think you can set it to play the previous one.
No, but I'm just saying have it all on different tracks.
Yeah, but for any track, what I'm saying is if you switch tracks a little bit late, everything you've recorded on the previous track isn't going to play back.
Right, so you can't set it to record on loop. So it will never go past a loop.
Well, when it goes on a loop, it makes a new take.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't disregard the previous one, but it's kind of hidden on a take.
Mm-hmm.
Which is great when you're working traditionally in a studio, because at the end you can just hit stop and then pick.
Yeah, and then also I suppose with the looper you can have it so that you've got one loop that's 1 bar and one loop that's 4 bars.
Yeah.
And then it will repeat the one that's 1 bar across the 4 bar one, won't it? On a looper. So you don't have to do the same length loop every time.
That depends on the looper. A more basic one wouldn't be able to do that, but something like a Boss RC300 could definitely do that.
Mm.
Yeah, there are different models that can do stuff like that.
Mm.
Yeah. But generally, once you've decided on your number of bars, that's then fixed for the rest of it.
I'm thinking of what's Corden's house band guy called? The Big Afro.
Questlove?
No, because he was a comedian / musician.
Oh yeah,
Reggie Watts.
Reggie Watts.
Yeah.
I thought you meant the drummer from the house band.
No, the main guy, because he's a king of the looper. I think some of the best looper I've seen stuff that he does, and he definitely can do it over. Yeah, Reggie Watts. Yeah, over a lot of stuff. Remember the first time I saw him was on Russell Howard's Good News as just the extra act on the extended version.
Right.
And I had no idea if he was the whole set. He changed his accent the whole way through without commenting on it. And I had no idea whether he was English, Australian, American. I had no clue. It was amazing.
Oh,
it blew me away.
He's off the chart.
The music he makes, it's one of those. I'm not sure whether it's Ross from Friends or pure genius. It's one of the two. There's times when I'm listening to him, I'm thinking, is this Tool? Like, is this that good? I just don't get it. Or is the guy just insane? I'm starting to believe that he is just that talented. The fact that he's the house band sort of material. He obviously is a very, very good musician.
Yeah, he's he just lets himself explore when he's on his own show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, compromising loops and snippets. Yeah, Ableton might be fun. Give it a go. Let us know how you get on, because it's the kind of thing that I might explore myself. I've not used Ableton properly in years, because when I did, I swiftly found that it doesn't work for what I wanted to do. Not that it's bad, it's not. It just doesn't do what I wanted. It's like if you need a really, really good hammer and you start looking in the saws section, it doesn't matter how good a saw it is, it's not hammer. That's what Ableton was for me. But
you used the back end of a saw as a hammer.
Exactly, you're using the wrong tool for the wrong... You kind of can. But for people who say, oh, there's no rules. Yeah, of course there's no rules. You can do what you want with anything. But you may well be putting far more work in for yourself than was ever necessary. And nobody's listening to your music to hear how much you've suffered to make it. They just want to hear it. Yeah. That's a conclusion I came to years ago, is that people aren't interested in how difficult or easy your music was to make. They're just interested in your music. So make it easy on yourself. That's always, well, that's been a philosophy of mine for a while. Make life easy on yourself. Bitwig. I've heard good things about Bitwig. That's been made by some people, used to work for Ableton. So it's kind of loopish. That might be worth checking out.
Loopish?
Yeah, it's not necessarily based on loops. It's a bit more free and easier to use, apparently, than Ableton.
Well, Fruity Loops.
We don't speak his name here. Good old FL Studios, it's now called. Well, actually.
My first music creations is a badly dubbed dog.
Oh, yeah.
I made when I was at uni. Decided I was going to rework some Take Back Sunday tracks and make them into dance songs.
Wow.
Yeah, that didn't work out too well.
Yeah. So all the money that you made from that went so far.
Oh god, yeah. It is fun though, using the splicing tools that you can use in there. It's just fun. It's of no real use, but
yeah.
Well, for someone that's incapable like I am anyway.
I have heard proper like white label remixes where someone's just filtered something to death to try and get a vocal out of it, and it just sounds like whenever the vocal comes in, and you're just like, oh. And that's on some still fairly well known stuff, like some guys like Zed's early work. Zed's early work, I'd listen back to it and go, oh god, no, please no. But of course, then they get the licenses for actually using the separate tracks and stuff, and that changes everything. Because when you're not trying to get rid of guitars and drums and everything out of a vocal part, it makes life a little easier.
Yeah, might sound a little bit cleaner.
Question. My DAW has 8 outputs that go to headphone amps. There are 5 of them in the band. Now everyone's getting mono in their ears. Is there a way to give everyone a stereo monitor? No. Sorry to be a disappointment, but if you've got 8 outputs, 8 is not 10. 8 is less than 10. But what you could do is find the 3 people in the band who need stereo the most and prioritise them to have stereo mixes, and then have mono mixes for the leftover 2. I know, for instance, that a lot of drummers aren't bothered about a stereo mix, because mostly what they need is click, and then it's just a glorified set of earplugs for some drummers.
Why would you need stereo?
Depending on the way that your ears work, it can be better to pick things out when you're in stereo, especially on larger stages. Say you've got different guitar parts in different ears, you can pick them out much easier, which means that the stereo, well, if you're on a mono mix, it can be quite claustrophobic and just kind of. But on a smaller stage,
right? So you'd have a stereo mix, but your own mix, not the mix that's going out the front of house.
Yeah, that's right.
Because you'd have like a hard panned guitar left and hard panned right, or vocals on the right or something.
Yeah.
So that you can. Okay, right. Okay, that makes sense. Right, I get that.
Yeah, quite often. It depends entirely on the band. I know that Chester from Linkin Park, I saw a big thing before he passed away in Sound on Sound magazine where they were talking about the band's mixes and their live setup. And theirs is all computerized and, top of the range, state of the art. And if I remember rightly, his personal mix, he had, his vocal was dead center. but the delays and stuff on his voice were panned way out so that they felt nice but didn't get in the way. But then also, like, Mike Shinoda's voice had a stereoizer on it, so that it appeared to him like a voice of God type thing, but it wasn't right in the middle of his pitching, so it didn't upset his ear trying to get his pitches.
Right.
Which, at that level, I get it, at that level. But also, again, that's talking about massive stages, because on a small stage, I don't find it's nearly as much of an issue because you get bleed through from all the other instruments literally physically around you. There's only so much that even really good in-ear monitors will block. So you will get some ambient sound coming in. So on small stages, like the bands that I've played with, we've always just gone with mono monitoring because it's easier and it's never been an issue. But if you've got a big stage where you literally aren't hearing much apart from maybe a bit of a wash from the cymbals off there somewhere, like you've got silent amps and that kind of thing, having different instruments off to different sides can
I mean, obviously he's talking about like a home studio environment, so I imagine he's talking about his DAW, isn't he? So
well, a lot of people do headphone mixes out of a DAW now. I do. We've got a template set up in Reaper, so I've got 4 different stereo headphone outputs for the bands and separate mix for me. So if somebody on one of those separate mixes wants more or less of something, they can just choose it and pan it and that kind of thing. Yeah. So like David's saying there, if you've got an interface, it's got 8 outputs, but also has like a light pipe output Toslink, you can get an extra output on there. You could do it that way. But then when you say my DAW has 8 outputs, generally DAWs have an unlimited number of outputs. I'm guessing you're talking about the interface that you have. So you could always get an interface with more outputs, or the option to have more outputs using ADAT, Toslink, that kind of thing. That's what I'm doing here. I mean, the way that I work is a little different from a lot of places. We've got 4 ADAT pipes in and 4 ADAT pipes out, so that's 32 in, 32 out, which is way more than you would generally take live. But that's why I got an old Alesis ADAT machine, which is that big chunky thing behind us, because that takes one of those ADAT pipes and gives me 8 outputs to the headphone amp that's right next to it, without interrupting any of the nice preamps or other outputs that I've got.
Tascam 1608.
Tascam 1608. Tascam 1608. Oh, those things. A friend of mine had one of them a while back. Yeah, so if it doesn't have ADAT connection and it's only got 8 outputs, sorry, that's your lot. But honestly, unless you are on the level of somebody like Linkin Park and you're touring arenas, everybody having a stereo headphone mix is a luxury. It's quite unnecessary. It's nice, but it's not going to make or break your performance. There's probably a weaker link in the chain than that somewhere. Yeah. It's like I said, I've been playing in a trio for years where we have mono headphone mixes and it's never been a problem for us. In fact, half of the time when I'm playing, if one of the ears falls out, it's quite nice to have a mono mix because then I'm not missing anything. I know that everything's still coming in the other ear and I can still pick it all out. That's the thing. I mean, if you want that luxury, just roll the dice for the 3 people that get the luxury. I mean, obviously you're going to be one of them because it's your system. It's like, driver's rules in the car, I get to control the stereo. Then just pick the 2 people, probably the 2 people who sing. Because the people who sing probably need more to be able to pick out their own vocal against the other instruments.
Yeah, as long as everyone else can hear the drummer, you should really be okay.
Yeah.
Like, in all honesty, if you're playing your instruments, if you can hear the drummer or you can hear the click if you're playing to click, it should be all you need.
Yeah. That's
Because if you can't do that, then you couldn't record single track stuff in the studio. Like, if you can only play in a band together when you can hear all the different parts, then that you say talk about other weak links. Probably that learn to play to click.
Yeah. Or if say you're the singer and you're already covered, then the priority for mono, think about it the other way. I'd say probably the drummer and the bass player can have mono. And I'm usually a bass player, so I'm not saying this is, oh, don't care about them. When your job is to hold the low end down, you're listening for that click, you're looking at the drummer, keeping time with them, you know what you should be playing anyway. You shouldn't necessarily have to be able to pick out nearly as well as the other guys do.
I mean, unless you're playing like some sort of like improv jazz sort of stuff that's not really playing to any sort of beat, or like folk acousticy stuff that's just got a natural vibe to it, then yeah, but then again, there's a natural vibe to it, so you should just be playing off the feel, not really off anything else. So yeah, I think you'll be fine.
Yeah. So,
vocalists.
Absolutely. Singers, drama queens. I have the strange how do you do of being the singer and the bass player in the band. So I'm the quiet one at the back who gets crapped on, and also the prima donna at the front making the noise and demanding everything.
Bryan Adams.
Yeah.
He was a bass player, wasn't he?
Bryan Adams?
Yeah. Was he not? No?
Not usually.
I thought he was a bass player. All right, fair enough.
He probably plays bass, but he usually plays a red Stratocaster, sorry, in most of the videos I've seen.
I thought originally he was.
He's one of the nicest, most talented Canadians out there. Did you know he's an internationally renowned photographer?
I did not.
He's done photograph portraits of the Queen.
Really?
Yeah, he's like big time photographer.
Wow.
When he's not being a musician, Bryan Adams is an amazing photo guy. Yeah, I found out about this a couple of years back. I was like, whoa, okay then. Yeah, they took him to Buckingham Palace to photograph the Queen.
Wow.
Yeah. So, last proper piece of news of the week. Have you heard of Sunno, the Doom band?
No, but do tell me more.
Sunno, they'll do like they'll have a wall of amps on stage, and not like the Darkness wall of amps, literal like everything on 11, not for show, actual religious experience, making the crowd judder loud. And so they're famous. They'll play like a note and just leave it hanging for 20 seconds while it feeds back, and then play the next one. And oh my god, it's loud. And so they've become infamous for this.
Right.
And they've now released their own effects pedal with
Earthquaker.
Earthquaker makes some weird stuff, but the thing about these pedals is they made a limited run of them, and they all sold out like that. And then suddenly they were all available on reseller sites for a lot more. And so, yeah, there was a big upset, basically. Because that seems to be the way that a lot of things are going at the moment, with kind of instantly selling out and then being resold. So they've made another run of them. Instead of the initial run of 1,000, they're doing 300. 500, sorry. So 300 you'll be able to buy off Reverb, but 200 of them you'll have to literally go and see the band on tour and buy them on the tour, which I thought was quite a nice way of doing that, because then if you're a genuine fan of the band, you get the privilege of being able to buy one. They're not cheap. I think they were something like $300 for this thing. It's a fuzz pedal and a boost, and yeah, they octave fuzz and a rat distortion, so you turn them both on with your amp slightly loud and people die. Which is brilliant. Yeah, if you want to play doom metal, which is all like super slow, Ermagerd. Oh yeah, so right, so it's actually 3 things in a pedal. One of them is the octave fuzz into a rat. That is literally the distortion side. Then there's a clean boost after that to make it even louder. Oh my god. So yeah, the price is going to be about $250, which is fairly reasonable for like Death in a Box. When they're all handmade, I think, at Earthquaker. But the fact that you have to go and see them, I think, is really helpful. Like there's bands are trying now to find ways of not getting people scalped, and it's such a difficult ground to tread. I mean, what do you do?
There's stuff you can do server side if you're selling stuff online to make sure that certain repeat calls can't be done on things, block IP addresses. But I mean, ultimately, if someone really wants to, then yeah, they can create a coordinated attack and buy whatever they want off you, it's pretty much impossible to stop it. But you just got to try and make it so it's not really worth it for the effort. Like with the tech that you can employ to stop an attack like that would cost less than the tech to deal with it. Actually, no, probably wouldn't, because you just farm it off to somewhere else and get them to do it. So yeah, theoretically, no, there's not much you can do about it.
Yay, uplifting. But yeah, it is what it is, which is it sucks. But yeah. Oh, I had an "and finally" in my mind a minute ago, but that's gone now. I do like to have an "and finally" news piece.
I love a sun pedal, but let's make some.
Oh yeah, the Earthquaker Acapulco Gold. The Acapulco Gold is like a little power amp with a big knob in a pedal. I say a power amp, it's like I think it's 3 or 4 watt power amp, which you then run into an amp, and it absolutely overloads the front of the amp so much that you get that big fuzzy "oh my god" sound. Yeah, but it just, they look awesome as well, because it's a stomp box, but the knob is like huge, and there's one of them, and it's like loud or much loud or deaf. Yeah, I just kind of want one for a while. And I thought I don't even make music in that kind of style.
Audio/tech geeky question from me.
Go on.
So I was trying to watch the International Dota 2 on the projector on the wall, going through the iPad with the adapter that I've got of yours still.
Oh yeah.
So HDMI from the iPad into the projector.
Okay.
But then obviously the audio has to come out of the iPad, and I managed to. You can't use Bluetooth with that. Because the HDMI audio overrides it in the iPad. There's nothing you can do to stop it. But you can, if you plug a headphone jack cable in and out, and then once you start playing it, plug it in again, it will then override it.
Yeah.
But then plugging that into my soundbar created a massive amount of ground noise that meant it wasn't really listenable. Because obviously the adapter is plugged into charge as well, so the iPad's charging.
And causing a ground loop.
Yeah.
Right.
Anything I can do to stop that, or? Because I was getting the same problem with a little USB speaker that I had that was plugged into my computer. When it was charging, it was giving a lower hum, so I could only use it once it had stopped charging.
Are they on different sides of the room?
Going back to the projector thing.
Yeah.
No?
Right, okay. They're not plugged into different wall sockets.
Yeah.
That's it. That's usually where ground loop comes from, because you'll get...
Maybe? No. Possibly. No, I think the projector is plugged into an extension, and then the soundbar should be plugged into the same extension.
Right. If they're on the same extension into the same wall socket, that means you shouldn't get the ground loop. If it turns out that one side's plugged into one plug and one's plugged into another plug...
Yeah, they can't be, not think about it.
Right, is there only one plug socket in the room?
Well, they're going back into the same extension that's behind the TV.
Oh, right. Because that's usually the source of it.
I plugged it into a different speaker and it was fine, so... No, I didn't. I did. I did plug it into the speaker.
I had exactly the same problem a few weeks ago with my iPad using not that adapter, but you just plug in the iPad in and having the headphone socket go to a mixer, and I was getting a big ground loop hum. There's not a great deal you can do, really. Yeah.
It seems to be solved by, I don't know. So the other thing that I've got is I've just bought, you can buy now a dock for your Alexa dot, the little Alexa dots. We've got one of those, and you can buy a little dock for 10 quid on eBay that turns it into one of the big Alexas, essentially.
All right.
It was only 10 quid, so I've upgraded an Alexa dot that was 30 quid into something that's worth like 100 quid.
Huh.
So, and that's got an extra port that you can plug your phone and stuff into it. So I plugged it into that and it worked. But,
cool.
Yeah, I just thought you might know. You tend to know these things.
I know what it is. I might have
one of those little things that go on the end of cables. Wouldn't do it, would it?
No, that's a choke, and they sometimes help. But if it's a proper type thing, no, they only tend to work those things with high frequency stuff because it kind of dampens down high frequencies. But what I do have kicking around somewhere that might be of use, that might solve it, is a transformer that goes on that headphone output. because that then disconnects the actual connection of the audio. So they're not electrically connected.
All right.
So then if there's no electrical connection, there's no ground loop. But the audio still gets through the transformer.
I ended up just going using my Xbox instead and going optical out of the Xbox with the HDMI, and that was fine then.
Ah.
So optical into the soundbar.
Well, yeah, opto-isolated, no ground loop because there's no electrical connection. That's what optical's good for. Yeah, it's one of the reasons I use optical wherever possible, is that there's no possibility of a ground loop because there's no ground.
Light, isn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, that's it, because there's no copper connection or anything. There's no electrical connection. So there's no chance of that can happen.
Cool. Any questions that we haven't answered? The only possibility that makes me almost consider upgrading to a brand of iPads.
Newer bendy iPads? What?
Bendy iPads.
I don't know.
Maybe bendy was meant to be Apple.
Yeah, there was a big question here about a video that we made a while back, which I'm about to refilm tonight, actually. The new version, because we're doing all new versions of all the new stuff. So I used a matrix to assign the outputs. I did. Then later on in that same video, I used the quicker automatic version. The reason that I do the matrix version first is to explain to you exactly how it's working, because the automatic version is doing a lot of that behind the scenes.
You're going to change it afterwards.
Yeah, so when you know where it is, you can do things like, if for some mad reason you want to do something like, say your overheads on the drums, if you want to flip them left and right, on the matrix you just unclick left and right and then click them as right and left, or that kind of thing. Or if you would decide that the order that the drums are coming out is something you don't like, you could then change them so it goes like kick, snare, hi-hats, toms, or whatever, and you can change in the matrix the routing without taking too long. It is the longer way of doing it, but it's definitely the way to understand what's going on. And that's something I'll try and make quite clear in the new video, is that I'm showing you both ways, but in an attempt to explain what's going on before we find the shortcut. Because then if anything is not how you like it, when you use the quick version, you know what's gone on and why and how to fix it.
Yep.
But yeah, I did briefly at the end of the video last time show the shortcut version, but probably if it's a 30-minute video, I'll be showing the shortcut for 2 minutes at the end, because it takes that long. But one thing I've gone out of my way to do with the new set of Reaper videos is have proper like title cards and transitions and timestamps, and so that people know what's coming up. And yeah, because the last lot, I mean, they turned out okay. They've been quite successful in terms of getting viewership, but I think the upgraded production quality and the different style has definitely helped, because it's laying things out better
clearer,
for people, much clearer. It's always kind of amused and baffled me all at once that the most successful series that we've ever done is one where I started it just as a quick one-off in my old bedroom, in my old flat, despite the fact that at that time we were already doing properly produced videos. It was supposed to be a bit of a time filler. Most viewed, the new version of the Reaper video is already flying its way up the most viewed. It's already got 33,000 views. Wow! Thank you everybody for watching that. I mean, the older one's got 240,000 views, but it's catching up fast. I also did it with an electronic drum kit instead of Steven's stuff. What? Well, the electronic drum kit would only have been the input that had to go somewhere, which either would have been Superior Drummer or Stephen Slate drums. And I think it's definitely going to be a good one tonight, because I'm using Stephen Slate Drums 5, which wasn't out originally, to do this. So it helps to keep it stay relevant, but also there's a free version of it, which means it applies to more people.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, even though the paid version of it has a lot more drum kits and a lot more versatility, the fact that there is a free version, that's great.
Yeah, no, fantastic.
I'm going to see if there's a free version. I think there's a free version of the Get Good Drums kit as well, because if I can use that, that will be absolutely fantastic if that's got multiple outputs, because then I can show you 2 different ways on 2 different platforms. I stopped using Superior Drummer a while back because the Stephen Slate drums was so much more appropriate to what I was doing. And yeah, so if I've got 2 different ways, I spent some time yesterday installing Stephen Slate drums on the basic laptop that I've got, and that took a good 20 minutes to install because it's big. But even with an SSD, it wouldn't read off the hard drive fast enough to install it any faster. It's something like 30 gigabytes of drums or something crazy.
That's nuts.
Yeah, so that's what I'm going to film as soon as we've finished here. And then one about not just backing up your work, but actually having Reaper save the same files as you record. You can get it to record to a separate backup drive. You know that? As it's going. Yeah, very clever. So I'm going to get it to do all that and show you how. And get it to do regular auto saves, regular incremental backups, all that kind of thing. Version of Westwood drums for $5. I'll check that out. Thank you very much. What's Westwood drums? Westwood drums? That certainly looks like some drums. Oh, from Audio Assault, right. Ooh.
Yeah, $5.
Has it got different outputs and everything? That's what I'm after. Multi-output for mixing outside the plugin. Yes. That is exactly the kind of thing I'm looking for. So thank you very much. I will get that and I will include that in the video.
Cool.
That's very good to know.
Well, let's leave you to do some drumming then.
Clicky clicky drumming.
Do you want me to drum for you?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Does it have to be in time? Does it have to sound like drums? I had drum lessons for 6 weeks, or once in my life. I can... No, that's not. Cool.
Yeah, well, on that note, right, let's get cracking. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We have been the Hot Pole Position podcast for Hot Pole Studios, and we will see you next week. Same bad time, same bad channel, 8 p.m. UK. See you then.
Bye. Cheers. Thank you. Bye. Go. Goodbye.
Goodbye, hello. We done? Not yet. Come on, come on, come on.